On the behalf of the City of Jacksonville and the Mayor's African American Advisory Board, we honor this historic institution's legacy, recognizing its past achievements and excited for its ongoing commitment to provide a supportive environment that fosters intellectual growth and leadership and success to its students. We ask for Edward Waters University President and CEO, Dr. A. Zachary Faison Jr. to join us in accepting the Legacy Award. Thank you.
Mayor, please.
Wow, good morning. I stand before you today deeply honored and profoundly humbled to accept the Legacy Award on behalf of Edward Waters University, Jacksonville's own and very historic HBCU that has stood as a beacon of hope, resilience, and excellence for nearly 160 years. Let me first begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to Mayor Donna Deegan for her bold, visionary leadership and her proven, unwavering commitment to Edward Waters University. Madam Mayor, your support is not just appreciated, it is transformative. Your leadership has shown what it means to truly invest in the communities that have long been overlooked. And for that, we at Edward Waters University are very deeply grateful. To the distinguished members of the African American Advisory Council, thank you for selecting Edward Waters to receive this incredible honor. Your recognition of our institution's legacy affirms the work we've done, the strides we continue to make, and the bright future we are all building together. Now, I must admit, giving an HBCU president a microphone is a bit like handing the keys to a race car driver. If you give it to me, we're going to take it for a spin. And so if you think that's a bit bold, just remember our verbosity is only matched by the Black Baptist preacher. So in fact, my wife often gives me the wrap it up look at about the 3 or 4 minute mark. And so I'll do my best to keep us here under time. But I also want to be transparent with you this morning. Receiving an award called the Legacy Award is both an honor and also a moment of deep reflection for me and our university. As the president of Edward Waters, a private church-affiliated HBCU that stood for nearly 160 years, I often find myself grappling with a deeply frustrating paradox. On the one hand, we are expected to raise funds and build support commensurate with our peer institutions, many of which benefit from alumni bases and communities rooted in generational wealth, institutional recognition, and deep-rooted community networks. And then on the other hand, we operate within a system shaped by what we all know as the Black wealth gap, historical erasure, and systematic neglect. Reality is that me and my millennial generation did not create, but yet we're constantly forced to navigate. The racial wealth gap in America is not a byproduct of individual failure. It's the result of centuries of structural racism. Policies like redlining, discriminatory lending practices, segregation, unequal access to quality education, and unemployment discrimination have all combined to systematically stifle Black economic mobility. And so as a result, Black families have significantly less generational wealth to pass down as compared to their white counterparts. Our alumni don't have the resources, Madam Mayor, to pass down to our institution to build the kinds of relevant facilities that we want at Edward Waters University. So data consistently shows that the median wealth of white families far surpasses that of Black families, creating disparities that ripple across generations, impacting not just personal finances, but also the capacity, as I mentioned earlier, to support institutions like Edward Waters University. So when potential supporters question why we aren't raising the same dollars as institutions with alumni networks steeped in wealth and built on privilege, the answer isn't a matter of fundraising strategy. It's about economic realities rooted in America's long history of racial and economic injustice. And here's where it gets even more exasperating. The narrative that if people only knew about Edward Waters, they'd support you. And in the words of our long-lost brother Kanye West, God bless the brother, I reflexively retort, how, Sway? We've been here for almost 160 years. Our institution predates many of Jacksonville's landmarks. We've shaped leaders, educated generations, and stood as a pillar of black excellence on Kings Road. But the painful truth is that it's not that they don't know we exist. It's that they've chosen not to know. We're listed in the same U.S. News rankings with all the others, but you don't seek to find us. To wit, the 2025 U.S. News and World Report, Mayor Deegan, lists Edward Waters University as the #1 ranked private HBCU amongst regional colleges in the South. Number one. It puts Edward Waters University as number 25, not in Jacksonville, not in the region, not in the state, but in the nation in social economic mobility. This is a measure that estimates and measures the proficiency that an institution has in terms of its success in graduating low-income first-generation students. Edward Waters is doing that as a top 25 institution in America. But the fact that these and other hallmarks often go unnoticed or unvalued isn't accidental. It's not because we failed to build relationships or market our successes. We're on the same billboards, on the same kiosk, and running the same TV commercials on the same networks as everyone else. No, it's because far too many in the broader Jacksonville community have chosen not to see or seek us. The history of unmet promises and being seated in the proverbial land that time forgot in northwest Jacksonville and on the Kings Road corridor reflects a pattern of deliberate neglect and systemic marginalization. The narrative that we're unfamiliar to some isn't an indictment of our outreach. It's the byproduct of a society that has consistently devalued black spaces and institutions unless and until they serve the interest of the dominant culture. As such, a couple of days ago, I was reminded of a conversation I had with an elder in our community. He looked around our vibrant campus at the historic buildings and all of the dynamic students and the undeniable spirit that rests around our campus. And he said, President Faison, son, they call me son because I'm young, so I'm son to everybody. He said, son, it's a beautiful thing to be remembered, but it's even more of a beautiful thing to be valued while you're still here. That stuck with me because we often celebrate institutions like Edward Waters as part of our city's history, but we fail to invest in them as part of our city's future. So while I'm deeply honored to accept this legacy award, I'm also, Mayor, offering a clarion call to Jacksonville's leadership, the philanthropic community, the business sector. Don't just honor our past, invest in our present. Partner with us to shape the future. Our students aren't just footnotes in a history book. They are future CEOs, educators, public servants, and leaders who will define the next chapter of Jacksonville. But they can't reach their full potential if we treat Edward Waters as an artifact rather than an active force in this city's growth. We don't need symbolic gestures. We need strategic investments. Investments in infrastructure, scholarships, faculty development, and partnerships that will create pipelines from our classrooms to your boardrooms. Because when Edward Waters thrives, Jacksonville thrives. So in closing, thank you again, Mayor Deegan, for your courageous leadership. Thank you to the African American Advisory Council for this prestigious recognition. And thank you to everyone here today who understands that legacy is not just what we remember, it's about what we build. Thank you. Edward Waters has been here again for nearly 160 years. We're not new. We're not hidden. Indeed, we're Jacksonville's HBCU. So the question isn't whether we're doing enough to be seen. The question is, when will this great city, including all its collective institutions and organizations, both civic and business, choose truly to see us and invest accordingly? Thank you all, and God bless.